be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, both now and ever, and unto the ages of ages. Amen. Our Lady, bearer of Emmanuel, pray for us. St. John the Baptist, pray for us. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, now and ever, and unto the ages of ages. Amen. Okay, so as I said, there's a few things to say before I show you the demonstrations. First thing is, I mentioned last week about having those live evaluation sessions together. I've looked at the material we've still got to cover, and so I decided the best thing was to have a separate session, or separate two sessions, in fact, to give everybody the opportunity who wanted to come together and share where they've got to so far for a sort of shared critique. And I'm going to do that on Friday. It'll be on Friday, and there will be two sessions, one at 11 and one at 3:30. So exactly the same times that we have these sessions. I'll then have the evaluation sessions for those of you who want to have that evaluation. Now, if you haven't got an evaluation done, you haven't got any work done to be evaluated, that's all right. Feel free to join the group. I won't record it, and it's not going to be posted online. Okay? I think the nature of it's a very personal thing to share your work and to have that critique. I think if you're there as part of the live session, there's a sort of level of respect. But I think if it's just recorded and you sit and look on, it's a bit voyeuristic, and I think goes against the spirit of that sort of trust that we want to have at the heart of what we're doing. So it will only be a live session. It won't be recorded and posted. Okay. I hope it'll be fairly gentle. I'm not the most gentle critique as they come, but I'll try not to be too ferocious. So you can all cry together if you want. At least you'll have mutual support. So that's all good. So that'll be Friday, either 11 or 3:30, the same times that we have our regular session. Okay, and we'll make it our Christmas party. So can you wear a Christmas hat or a bit of tinsel, or your Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer outfit, or whatever it is that you have. I'm expecting Americans to be far more outrageous in this sort of thing than the Brits or the Australians, because you have form, as they say, or skin in this matter. But that doesn't let the English off the hook. You don't want to be eclipsed by our American brothers and sisters. So make sure you get something on for on Friday. So that'd be fun. So that's the first thing. Secondly, as I was saying, I'm thinking about the next session, the next module, which I'm planning to begin at the end of January, and it'll be a half figure, probably Our Lady and Child. I think that's fairly set. I'm thinking about which particular one to do. And I am bearing in mind that for some people who are very new to iconography, doing Mary and Baby Jesus will be very demanding. So there'll be an option for doing Our Lady Deisis, which is where Mary is just pointing in the direction with two hands. So that's much more simple. But I'll be actually demonstrating Mary with the Christ child. And that will mean it will introduce us to garments, posture. It will introduce us to a child's face and a woman's face. We've done a man's face, so there's a slight difference in the way those are handled. A ceased, which is those gold lines that you often see on the Christ child's garments. So there's a lot to cover, and I think it'll probably take 8 to 10 sessions. I'll work on that once we finish this course. But how many of you would be interested in doing the Virgin Mary with the Christ child? Yep, a few hands going up. Yes. Okay, how many of you would be interested in just doing Our Lady on her own with our hands, the Daisies one? Yep, okay, brilliant. Okay, so probably then that would confirm then that would be the way we progress. Those of you, there was a couple in the other group who wanted to just do Our Lady with the hands, so we'll have a way of, I'll have to think about how to do that, but it might be just making materials available, and I'll do the demonstration for the whole thing, and you sort of can pop in and out as you like, and I'll try and work out when I'm going to do like baby Jesus bits, so you don't have to, I mean, you can sit on those sessions, but you don't actually have to worry too much about doing them. And I am thinking after this, it was one sister Felicity. She was saying that, or could we do Our Lady of Sorrows because it'll be Lent? And I do like to do icons which reflect the seasons that I'm working in. But I thought, I don't know, it didn't quite strike me as being quite right. But I've thought about it since. And there is Our Lady with the Christ child, or the playing child, which is, it shows Jesus reaching out to his mother, and he's sort of twisted round like this, which is the way it was explained to me anyway, it's like Christ mounting the cross or coming down from the cross. Is that figure where his arms are stretched out in a way that parallels the crucifixion, and has connections in that sense with Our Lady of Perpetual Succor, the child being agitated because his mother can look ahead to his passion, and so he's trying to comfort her, and the playful child is reaching up to his mother in the same sort of way. So it's quite a powerful image, and would have that resonance of the passion. But that's as far as I've got with that at the moment, and I'll do some reflection. But anybody who has any thoughts, do send them to me, either in the comment box here or by email at some point. You remember last week I said there was a mistake, and your homework was to work out what it was. So I should tell you what it was, shouldn't I really? Well, it was that the highlights were too bright over the whole face. Now, that's something which I quite often do. It seems to be my style of working. I like to sort of bring them up and then knock them all back with a thin layer of yellow ochre. I find it, instead of it really makes the colours all sort of really unite, so you get a nice radiance rather than it looking like makeup which has been sort of put onto the face. So that was the mistake, in the sense that the white in the yellow was too much, and so there wasn't this unity between the highlighting layer and the layers that went underneath. There was too much of a leap. So we're going to start with taking it back up from where I got to at the end of the last session, and you'll see that as part of the next stage I'll put that mistake right. Okay, so let me find my, here we are. I think is it Now, looking at this face, I want to nuance it to some degree. I want to make it less frowny, and I want to make it less dark. And to do that, I'm going to play. So, first thing I'm going to do is to take a broad brush. This is a 6. And going back to my original yellow ochre, I'm going to put that yellow over almost everything. And what this does, it unifies everything. I can see where I want my features to be. I can pull it in together. And now that's made that frown much, much less. Like that. Don't forget the ears. Wonderful way to just sort of soften the features if it's become a little bit too aggressive. And then we can go back and rebuild the highlights. This time I'm going to expand those highlights a little bit further. So I want to really sort of bring this colour right out to here. So I'm going to really lighten up the face. I don't want it to be as dark as it was. Now I'm sure at various times you'll find yourself getting quite lost. So this is a really good thing to demonstrate that you might get a bit lost, but if you're prepared to take yourself back a little bit, a few steps back, you can then pull it all together and just sort of rebuild. But for that you've got to be patient and not rushing things. Especially here on the forehead, I'm pulling back the wrinkles, the furrows on the brow, and that means that there won't be the same sort of not menace but almost grimace in the look. So instead of getting deep furrows, you relax the face. And that helps to create more of a sort of gentle look. And again, I want to make the general skin tones a bit lighter, so I need to expand these areas before coming back to them and highlighting them again. Oops. You see now I've sort of lightened, funnily enough, I've lightened everything now by just expanding the area that was covered by that yellow, pulling it all together, taking it back just a few steps. Now Just expanding the area of yellow that I'm covering with the lighter paint. So now I'm not pushing the crease down, I'm sort of raising where the crease is coming up a little bit, so it's not looking quite so intimidating. Okay. That's a lot better. A lot better. Put that in there like that. Bring this across like that. Okay, now then, where's my runner? That in, strengthen this area. Now I'm going to. This is with a Vanna ochre, so I'm just sort of strengthening the dark areas which lie underneath where the beard's growing out. And try and blend it up with little brush strokes into it, so it's like the hairs of the chin growing in. And then for the beard I'm going to go back now with the raw umber. Starting up quite high on the side and drawing these lines. To the bottom where it's sort of thicker and therefore darker. So establishing the darker bit at the end. And try to get the angle of these strokes spot on so that it's curving off the chin and round. So see how I'm pivoting my hand there. Try and keep the different sections as well. So this bit coming down, this bit sort of coming around, and then this sweeping this way. Strengthen the nostril there. Just put 1, 2, 3 lines, and then going over it, just those two, bottom two, and not from the end, but just into that part there. Now, I'm going to strengthen the pupil like that, and then this is all raw umber. Round the edge of the iris, there's a thin, thick, thin line, a sort of half crescent moon, just around the edge there, like that. And now I'm going to go back to my some white into my raw umber, and then just on that side, 1, 2 little lines next to each other. Just that brightness will bring it alive, and then the same on that side. Don't fill the eye with white paint. If you do that, it really has a very, very different look. That's more of a sort of Coptic icon look. So you need to try and avoid doing that, because that's not Byzantine, and it just makes it look very crude. Okay, so let's go back to the second eye. Again, I'm strengthening this just with the raw umber. Then I'm going to put this half crescent moon like this, and then going over the eyelash like that. Three little strokes there. So it's gradually sort of building itself up. Go back down to the moustache. You can see on the model it's sort of got a concentration there, and then right up against the brightness there, which creates quite a nice. I'm going to put the line on one side and the other, and coming into a teardrop shape. And just that little line here and here just makes the lips a little bit more gentle. Want to put this angle in here. I sort of lost it a little bit, so it was looking a little bit askew, but that's much better. And now, just with the same raw umber but lightly, and a thin line just there and there. Don't make it thick, don't make it heavy, don't make it dark. It's not the same as your eyelashes at the top. They're neither as thick or as dark or as many of them. So you need to create that difference between the two. This little blemish. So that's less of a heavy shadow. I just put a bit of yellow on. That's just mellowing that out. I just want to bring this further over now. This back under the eye. That's better. And then going back to your yellow ochre, in the iris, just a little thick line around the pupil. Now, a little bit like that. So you've got that little yellow ochre, thin line around the pupil. It just, again, is beginning to sort of mellow this face. Now, this is English red ochre light, and I'm just going to edge those ears, go back and put these edging lines on the nose like that. And the mouth, we don't want it too sensual, so I'm just putting quite a flat line along the bottom like this. Okay, and then you can put the shadow into there and wash it. Actually, I'm going to wash it across all of this like that. I'm just going to wash across just a bit like that. Now, just to blend those red lines down a little bit, the side of the nose there. establish these lines. Right, now then back to my lightest yellow ochre. Now this is really where less is more. Now I'm doing very deliberate lines. So rather than doing little lines and washes and blends, these are now really quite precise lines. Thin, thick, thin lines. Thin, thick, thin, just on the front there. So that opens that eye up. Just put 3 little lines on the top of the lip there. That's in there. More hatching lines on there, I think. And now that's giving us a bigger base for this lighter colour, and so the overall effect is a much lighter face. So that's really working. The ears have these sort of little bright ends to them. Listening to God speak. So you can see now that the light is radiating around the eye So rather than before it was a little sort of fierce, now that's opened the eye up, and we've got a less severe, more gentle sort of face. But it shows you have to be willing to really look at your own work and really critique it in order to be able to sort of take it somewhere and rescue it from being maybe good enough, but you know, you've got a vision of who Jesus is and how he's speaking as you're doing the icon, and one has, I think, responsibility to him to use all the tools at our disposal to create not just a good enough icon, but one that really speaks as eloquently as possible of all that he is saying to us as our Redeemer. So see, now it's really holding this radiancy. Now, temptation is always to do too much. So one of the key things is knowing when you've taken it as far as you know your ability at this particular moment in time will take it. So don't be afraid to self love. Well, actually, I've got this as far as I can do it this time. And then stop and allow yourself the joy of producing something that is good enough, even if there's lots of room for improvement. Okay, so quite a lot of information there. Did get a question in. It says, it seems like this layer of highlight is very bright, which might be toned down once you add the hair. So how do you determine if highlights need to be adjusted on their own, or if adding another feature like hair or clothing will balance everything out? Good question. And I think you could see what I was doing there was I built up the highlight in maybe quite a narrow way, so I broadened that out a little bit just so that it nestled. But context is important, and colours radiate, bounce, however you want to put it, depending on other colours next to them. So you're quite right to say, well, how do you balance all this up? And what I do, in fact, the next thing is going to be moving then to the hair before coming back to the face. You do need to keep a balance between the specific and the whole. Colours don't just work on their own, and one of the reasons why I got that hair in even roughly was because if it was just left all white, some people have the skill to see this, but I think for a lot of us we need to actually get some basic colours on the palettes, on the board, so that the whole palette is basically established, and then gradually bring things up. That's the way I prefer to do it. I find I've got more control. I'm less likely to get a jarring effect later on if I can build everything up bit by bit. So I'll build this bit up, then go back to the bit over here, and so forth. But that's a good question. That's how I do it. Other people will do it in another way, but it depends on your sensitivity and your ability to handle a variety of colours or none in your imagination and your eye. One other thing I forgot to say, Jenny. There's Jenny. Jenny, you'll be delighted to know that your housewarming card arrived. So there it is back here. The first bit of mail that I got. So thank you, Jenny. The postwoman basically got to Chervarallo and was asking around, and she asked at the right place, and it got to me. So thank you for that. That was very much appreciated. But I thought it'd be rather fun to know yours was the first one to actually make it. My mum's card is still waiting to get here, so I've now bought a post box which is on the front of my house. So hopefully things will get in there. Okay, so let me now show you the second of the videos, and that should take us through for the rest of today. Now, once you got it to this sort of stage, probably we want to go back to the hair. The face is not yet finished, but I want to sort of take us back now to the beard and hair. So the beard is, much as I was saying, just sort of build it up from the bottom upwards. Follow those directional lines. See what the difference once you've built something up. Then suddenly it sort of bursts into life at some particular point. But you have to be really patient. Waiting for that moment to come, and sometimes it can seem it's never going to come, and you have to go backwards and forwards a few times to get it to that point. And doing it in those those blocks just like when we drew it. So there, there, there. So otherwise it becomes very flat and heavy, and we don't want that. So okay, so now with that beard sort of basically in there now, we've brought that up, I want to sort of go back to the hair, and I'm going to begin by just re-establishing where all those main divisions are, so what's flowing into which. Like that, because this is one of the things that really creates life in the icon. So we start just like when we started drawing it. Start with the bunches or the sections, and then into the detail. I think one of the problems for a lot of people, I think a lot of people who do icons who've not really got an artistic training, but maybe are used to sort of using acrylics or something like that, they want to trap it and make really bold, strong lines and define it. Whereas what we really need is to open it up, let it breathe, so that you have a sense of life in your art. Now that's true of anything, not just the icon. You see now, drawing out the animation of this calligraphic image. Again, don't make the lines just thick and heavy. Try and make them calligraphic where it's appropriate. So like thin, thick, thin. Bring them up like that. You can really create so much life with those calligraphic strokes. So again, as you construct each area, it gives you the logic of what the next step is going to be. So you can bring that, for example, from there down into here. So that's rising up into there. This coming down to meet it. So that's coming here, that's coming to there. So you're dividing each up in a very sort of rhythmic way. Like that. Just be a bit careful when you're putting your hand onto your white surface. You haven't got any dirt or paint or pigment on your hand, because it will mark it. So if in doubt, just use a cloth, which I usually do, but I'm not quite sure where I put them at the moment. So taking a little bit of a risk here. You see I'm now joining up where I've done one and the other, either weaving one inside the other or joining up so that they make a continuous sweep. And then these areas which are going back, going to into shade those down again. Like that. this back up. And so on across the both sides, and take it gently so that you don't sort of lose yourself in the way, either by trapping yourself into something which then sort of loses coherence, or just becomes very rigid. So let me do the other side, and I'm going to switch off the cameras and bring this side up, and then I'll continue with the face. Okay. There we are then. So that neatly takes us to the point where we're ready to press on with that final stages in taking the icon to its completion, which will be next week. So next Tuesday will be our last session on this module. As I was saying, we'll have our opportunity for a consultation together on the work that you might have produced. Don't bother sending it to me beforehand. This is just an opportunity to share what you've done and have a bit of sort of feedback, spotting sort of maybe common mistakes or weaknesses, things that can be identified and put up. I'm not quite sure how it will work. We'll just see. But it's an opportunity just to sort of share what we got together. So that's this Friday, there's no need. You don't have to sign up for it. Just use the codes that we use for these lessons to log in. Okay, and you can come to either or both of the evaluation sessions as you like. I don't think there's any more that I need to say this week, unless there are any more questions. Yeah, some people can't attend on Friday. I'm sorry about that. But this is a sort of extra, so it's a bit of a freebie being thrown in for you. So a Christmas treat. And I know that we've got some people, for example, who've got all their family coming over for some Christmas fandango in Australia. So various people are working, all that sort of thing. So I know it won't be possible for everybody, but for those of you who would like the opportunity and can come, it's a little bit of opportunity. And don't forget to wear your Rudolph outfit for our Christmas. You can even have a bottle of brandy or something nearby if you need that. You might need that for steel your nerves for the critique, but nevertheless, can at least enjoy a bit of a Christmas tipple as well. So that'll be good. Okay, everybody. I think that just about covers everything. I'll work on the next module. I've been thinking about that actually while you've been working on this. So hopefully by this time next week I should have some specific details for you. Okay, for those of you who'd like to continue with the next module. All right, everybody. Thanks very much. Great to see you all, and look forward to seeing you either on Friday or next Tuesday.